from StampingJoe.com, and today I'm going to show you how I created this background for this card using the Tasteful Touches stamp set. So you can see there's lots of different stamps and greetings in this one. I used this flower here, and I used the You Are So Special. And then I actually used this for around, if you can see, around my Highland Heather. I just did a very subtle pattern so that the paper wasn't flat. All right, so let's get started. I love using my blocks for adding color from my ink pads. Now, some people will take their ink pads and push them into the bottom and get their palette in here, and that's okay too, but I prefer using my blocks. This is a really big one, but I'm using it with two different colors, so I just figure it'll work with that, but you can use your smaller blocks too. Okay, so we're just gonna add some Highland Heather, and this is my mint macaroon, and then I'm going to use some watercolor paper. Now, our watercolor paper comes in a package like this. It comes with 10 sheets. Each sheet is 5 by 7. I generally will cut my sheet in half, so that gives me 2 card pieces per paper, okay? So I'm gonna take it. You can either do, I'm just gonna pull in a cloth here so that I don't get my paper all wet, but you can either take the water spritzer, the Stampin' Spritzer, add some water like this, or you can take a paintbrush or our really handy water painters and just add some color, water, onto your paper to get it nice and wet. Now I'm going to take some of this color and pull it in, and depending how much of the color you put on your brush, you can just kind of start painting it back and forth. It looks like I don't have enough, so I'm just going to add a little bit more color. Okay. And use some of that wet again from here and just start painting it. Now, I don't mind when there's different shades of the color. I just think it looks really pretty to do it that way. So, and it doesn't have to be completely covered either. I think it kind of looks nice to have a little bit of white space. All right, so I'm just gonna rinse off my paintbrush and go into the mint macaroon. Now, I did use Just Jade as my cardstock here, but I found when I used it with the color, it just looked a little dark. So I ended up using the Just Jade for the leaf stamp instead. All right, so back in with my mint macaroon. Hopefully I'm saying that right, I don't even know. Macaroon, macaron. All right, just add maybe a little bit more water down here. And we can start to kind of connect the two together a little bit, just so that that middle isn't so harsh. Need a little bit more color as well. Get some different shades of it. Add kind of strokes like this, or just do like that. So it's pretty forgiving. If you let this dry and you decide, oh well, it needs a little bit more color, you can actually go back onto your watercolor paper and add more color. All right, sometimes I cheat and I'll add a little bit of color just from the side of my ink pad. So I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'm going to probably add one more layer of color to that. To dry it, I actually went with my heat tool and just gave it a little bit of heat on it just to dry it a little bit. It's still a little bit moist, but it's gonna be a lot easier to put on that second layer. So I've added a little bit more ink onto my block, and I'm just gonna go back. And I find every time I make a background, it looks different. I don't like to make them identical. And you know what, to be honest, it's really hard to make them identical because sometimes I forget exactly how I did it or how much ink I used on my block or on anything else. So this one's kind of fun to do these like fun lines. You can add a bit more water to spread it around a little bit more. All right, I'm good with that. I'm going to go back in with my mink macaroon and add some color there. Maybe do some lines as well. And just to overlap a tiny bit, just to make that look a little bit more natural. All right, that's about good. I'm going to heat set that again with my heat tool, and I will show you the next step. All right, so that's dry enough for me. For the next step, what I did is I just added a little bit more color onto my block. Now I want this to be fairly dark, so I didn't actually put too much water on here, and hopefully it'll be dark enough. So I wanted some little splatters of green. I'm just taking some scrap paper just because I don't want it onto my purple. Oh, that's looking pretty good. It's showing up pretty nicely. All right, and then we're going to turn it and wash off my brush. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the purple. So again, not too much water because I want it to be a darker color. And if you find that it's too light, then and you have other purples, then feel free to use a darker one, just to kind of have some nice darker shades of purple onto there. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. It's going to dry, and if you can see here, I used some shimmer paint, so some of our Champagne Mist shimmer paint. I added some of that to the background as well. I stamped this onto the shimmery white cardstock and then used my Stampin' Blends. I used a various amount of blends just to add some of those colors in there. I stamped using my Just Jade on my background paper. Now for this, I actually used my stamp, the stamp positioner, and forget the name of it already, and did that a few times so that it became darker. And then I took some more of the shimmery white cardstock and did some, and I fussy cutted those with my paper snips. I did my greeting, cut it out, put it on with some dimensionals, and then I took my cute little embellishments here and I used some of our fine tip glue pen. I added some glue and then added my embellishment on top. I let it dry for a good while because then they're on there for really good. And then I used some of my thread from the, it's a 2-pack of ribbon. I will post the name of it in the comments of this, and kind of put that around, did a little bow, and that's it. I hope you like this creative background. If you like my videos, give me a thumbs up, like my channel, and I will see you again soon. Bye.